Luka Dončić walked onto the court like he had something to prove, and within minutes, everyone realized they weren't ready. One step back three. One no-look pass. One cold stare at the Suns bench, and suddenly, a preseason game started to feel like the playoffs. But what no one expected was that Phoenix had their own secret weapon waiting to shock everyone. The whistle hadn't even cooled from the tip-off before Luka Dončić took control of the entire atmosphere. He didn't ease into the game, he owned it from the first touch. One jab step, a shoulder fake, and a perfect feed to DeAndre Ayton. Boom. An alley-oop slam that shook the rim and instantly flipped the energy inside the arena. It wasn't just another preseason game anymore, it felt personal. The Lakers' offense started to flow like a perfectly rehearsed symphony. Luka had this calm, almost arrogant control, scanning the floor like he could see 2 plays ahead. A quick handoff to Austin Reeves, a sharp extra pass to Jake LaRavia in the corner. The ball barely touched the floor before LaRavia buried the 3. Fans jumped. The Suns' defense hesitated. Luka smirked. In just 4 minutes, he already had multiple assists and 8 points of his own. His footwork in the post was ruthless. One fake to the left, spin to the right, soft touch off the glass, vintage Luka. And every bucket seemed to suck the confidence out of Phoenix a little more. But here's the twist, Phoenix wasn't folding. Out of nowhere, a rookie stepped up. Keman Maluwak, a 7-footer most fans didn't even know existed, made his presence felt immediately. On his very first offensive touch, he took it straight at Ayton, planted his feet, and dropped in a smooth hook shot. No hesitation, no nerves, just raw, fearless basketball. A few plays later, Ayton tried to bully his way inside for a second chance bucket, and got stuffed. Maluwak met him at the rim with perfect timing, sending the ball flying back like a statement, "I'm here too." That one play flipped the energy on Phoenix's bench. The Suns players jumped up, yelling. Even the Lakers crowd went quiet for a second. Meanwhile, Luka stayed ice cold. He answered with a mid-range jumper that barely grazed the net, followed by a behind-the-back pass that made the defense spin like they were stuck in slow motion. He was playing chess, while everyone else was still figuring out the rules. The Suns were trailing, but they weren't intimidated. Their rookie had just gone toe-to-toe with Ayton. Luka was hitting everything. And by the end of the first quarter, both teams were locked in a high-energy battle that felt way too intense for a meaningless preseason matchup. You could almost feel the tension building, something bigger was brewing. Every season, there's that one moment where an unknown name suddenly becomes the center of the conversation. That night, it was Keman Maluwak. Before the game, barely anyone in the building even recognized his name. He wasn't trending. No pregame analysts were talking about him. But in just a few possessions, the rookie went from invisible to unforgettable. Standing at a towering 7 feet, Maluwak didn't play like a nervous kid trying to prove something. He played like someone who already belonged. His defense was the first thing that made people look up. When Ayton tried to muscle through the paint, Maluwak didn't back down an inch. He read the move, timed the jump perfectly, and sent the shot flying back like a warning. The bench exploded. Fans started asking, "Who is this guy?" And just like that, the spotlight shifted. But he didn't stop there. A few minutes later, Phoenix ran a simple pick and roll. Luka switched onto him, and everyone expected Luka to win that battle easily. But Maluwak rolled hard to the rim, caught the lob, and hammered it down with both hands. The sound of that dunk echoed through the building. Suddenly, the Suns rookie wasn't just part of the game, he was changing it. What made his performance even more shocking was the composure. Most rookies in their preseason debut either hesitate or overdo it. Maluwak? He played like he'd been here for years. He positioned himself perfectly on defense, crashed the boards with purpose, and moved without the ball like a vet. His first 5 minutes on the court felt like a statement piece, and the crowd felt it. Every time he touched the ball, there was this wave of anticipation. Suns fans were on their feet. Even Lakers fans couldn't help but respect what they were witnessing. The camera panned to Luka after one of those plays, and he just nodded, like he knew this wasn't going to be the walk in the park people expected. By the end of the first half, Maluwak had already earned something most rookies don't get in their debut: fear and respect. Fear from the opposing team, and respect from the crowd. Phoenix wasn't supposed to be able to match the Lakers' firepower, but this kid had given them something they weren't counting on: momentum. And momentum can change everything. For a few minutes, it looked like the rookie had stolen the spotlight. The crowd was buzzing. Phoenix's bench was alive. But that's when Luka decided, enough was enough. You could see it in his eyes after that dunk from Maluwak, that calm, dangerous kind of focus that great players have when they're about to take over. On the very next possession, Luka dribbled up the floor, no plays called, no signals, just him and the defender. One slow step to the right, a subtle fake to freeze the big man, and then boom, step back 3, nothing but net. The crowd erupted. And Luka? He barely reacted. Just a cold stare at the Suns bench. Message received. But that was just the beginning. A few possessions later, Luka danced with the ball at the top of the key like it was on a string. The Suns threw a double team at him, and he didn't flinch. He split the pressure, went behind the back, and dished a laser to DeAndre Ayton for another alley-oop finish. Showtime. The Lakers bench lost it. Fans were on their feet. Luka was in rhythm. Phoenix tried to adjust, but the thing about Luka is, once he gets going, it's not just scoring, it's control. Every possession was running through him. He manipulated the defense like a puppeteer, pulling them in with his drives, then kicking out to wide-open shooters. The ball moved fast, but Luka's mind moved faster. And then came the shot everyone would be talking about later. Luka caught the ball near the wing with just seconds on the clock. Maluwak, the rookie who had been shining moments earlier, switched onto him. 7 feet of wingspan staring him down. But Luka didn't hesitate. One hard dribble back. Step back 3 over the outstretched arms. Swish. He turned, smirked, and pointed at the floor like he owned it. Because at that moment, he did. By halftime, Luka had already dropped 22 points, grabbed 6 rebounds, and shot nearly 60% from the field, and he made it look effortless. The Suns had tried to push back, but Luka had shifted gears into a place very few players can reach. This wasn't about a preseason game anymore. This was about sending a reminder to the entire league: Luka is built different. Even the broadcast team started to sound less like commentators and more like fans witnessing a moment. "He's not even at full speed," one of them said. And that was the scary part, he wasn't. This was Luka on cruise control, dismantling Phoenix piece by piece. But the Suns weren't done. Not yet. Because on the other side, someone else was quietly catching fire, and it was about to flip the game upside down again. Just when everyone thought Luka had slammed the door shut, someone quietly started picking the lock from the other side. Jared Butler, a name barely whispered in the first quarter, was about to roar in the third. Butler walked back onto the court with that locked-in look. No overreactions. No hype, just a quiet, burning kind of confidence. Phoenix was down, Luka was in full control, and the Lakers crowd felt like they were already celebrating. But Butler had other plans. On the Suns' first possession of the third quarter, Butler sized up his defender. One quick crossover, a hesitation dribble that froze Reeves in his tracks, then a smooth pull-up 3 that splashed clean through the net. It wasn't just a bucket, it was a warning shot. Next possession, same story. This time he drove hard to the rim, absorbed contact, and finished with a soft floater off the glass. The bench exploded. Luka raised an eyebrow. Butler wasn't playing like a role player. He was playing like a spark that could burn the whole thing down. The Lakers tried to push back with their usual rhythm, but Phoenix suddenly had a pulse, and Butler was the heartbeat. He was everywhere, slipping past screens, hitting mid-range jumpers, and running the floor like he owned it. Within minutes, the Suns had sliced the lead down, and the crowd that had been roaring for Luka started holding its breath. And the thing about Butler's performance? It wasn't flashy. It was relentless. Shot after shot, possession after possession, he made the smart play. He didn't need to do a step back like Luka or throw no-look passes to make noise. He just kept scoring, and scoring, and scoring. Midway through the quarter, Butler already had 20-plus points on nearly 70% shooting, numbers that would stand out in a regular season game, let alone preseason. Every jumper he hit seemed to tighten the rope around the Lakers. Bronny James checked in to inject some energy for LA, and for a brief moment, it worked. His hustle plays and fearless drives brought life back into the building. But every time the Lakers seemed to spark a run, Butler answered it like a machine. One step-back jumper over a closing defender, one fast break pull-up, another floater, over and over again. And just like that, the entire energy of the game flipped. Luka had left the floor after a dominant stretch, and for the first time, the Suns smelled blood. You could feel it in the way the Phoenix bench stood for every possession. You could feel it in how quiet the crowd got after each Butler bucket. By the time the horn sounded to end the third, Butler had dragged his team right back into the fight. Phoenix wasn't just surviving anymore, they were believing. The fourth quarter didn't feel like preseason anymore. It felt like a playoff game. The kind where every possession is heavy, every basket lands like a punch, and every mistake costs momentum. And right at the center of it was Jared Butler. The Suns came out of the break with a different kind of energy. They weren't the underdogs anymore, they were the hunters. Luka had taken a seat after his dominant first half, and the Lakers assumed Phoenix would fade out. Instead, Butler walked onto the floor like it was his arena. First possession of the quarter, he sliced through the defense like it was nothing. One crossover, one spin move, and a high-arcing floater kissed the glass and dropped. The Suns bench went wild. Next trip down, he pulled up from deep, bang. Just like that, the Lakers' slim lead was gone. You could feel the tension in the building. Lakers fans went from loud to restless. The Suns fans, the few that made the trip, started to believe this was something more than a lucky run. Butler wasn't missing. He wasn't hesitating. He was in that rare zone players talk about, where the rim feels twice as wide and the game slows down. As wide and the game slows down. The Lakers tried to respond with Bronny James, who had quietly become a spark plug off the bench. He attacked the rim with fearlessness, drawing fouls, hitting big layups, and keeping the game close. But Butler kept answering, over and over again. A contested jumper here, a step-back three there, a drive through traffic that left defenders frozen. At this point, Butler had crossed the 30-point mark. The Lakers threw multiple defenders at him. They trapped him, switched on him, forced him to the corners. But nothing worked. Every time they found a way to contain him, he found a way to escape. The Suns' confidence grew with every possession. Keman Maluwak, the rookie who had made his presence felt early, threw down another huge dunk after a Butler assist, sending shockwaves through the court. The Lakers' bench got quiet. Even Luka, sitting on the sideline with a towel around his shoulders, couldn't help but smirk in disbelief. He had dominated the first half, but now, the story belonged to Butler. The game came down to the final minutes. 100-100. The arena was on edge. The Lakers looked to Bronny to create something, and he delivered a strong baseline reverse layup that gave them a slim lead. But then Butler took the ball on the other end, dribbled into traffic, spun off contact, and floated in the go-ahead bucket like it was nothing. As the final seconds ticked down, the Lakers' last attempt clanked off the rim. The buzzer sounded. And against all odds, Phoenix walked off the court with a 102-100 win. Butler finished with 33 points in a performance nobody saw coming. It wasn't just the numbers. It was the way he took over. Calm, ruthless, unshakable. One half of basketball was all it took for Jared Butler to turn a preseason game into a statement. The Suns didn't just steal a win. They stole the spotlight. When the buzzer sounded, it wasn't just the score that told the story, it was the expressions. Luka leaned back in his seat, half smiling, half annoyed. The Suns bench looked like they'd just won a Game 7. And around the arena, fans weren't sure what to feel. They'd come to see Luka's show, but they ended up witnessing something far bigger than a preseason highlight reel. Hidden beneath the box score were the subplots that made this game so fascinating. For starters, Marcus Smart's Lakers debut. The defensive bulldog, the guy known for his intensity and grit, didn't even take a single shot. 0 field goal attempts. 1 assist, 2 fouls. It wasn't the start anyone expected from a former Defensive Player of the Year. You could sense the frustration in his body language, the pacing on the sideline, the handclaps that felt forced. It was a quiet debut, but the kind that leaves questions hanging in the air. On the other end of the story was the rise of Keman Maluwak, the 7-foot rookie who walked into the building unknown and walked out with everyone talking. The block on Ayton, the dunks, the composure, he didn't just play well, he played like he belonged in the league. By the time the cameras caught him post-game, smiling next to Butler, he looked like a kid realizing his life had just changed overnight. The Suns may have found a gem they didn't even know they had. Then there was Jared Butler, the man of the night. 33 points. Efficiency off the charts. What made it so special wasn't just the scoring, it was how unexpected it was. No one circled his name before tip-off. No one planned defensive schemes for him, but in 48 minutes, he forced the entire Lakers roster to adjust, adapt, and finally surrender. It's games like this that rewrite reputations, the kind where a bench player becomes a headline. Even Bronny James added his own twist to the story. His baseline reverse layup near the end might have been overshadowed by the loss, but for a rookie fresh off his first championship celebration, it was a small reminder he's not here to coast. He's here to build something real. After the game, reporters swarmed both locker rooms. Luka, calm as ever, brushed off questions about the loss with that trademark grin. It's preseason, man. We're just warming up. But the tone in his voice hinted at something deeper. He knew this team had work to do. The chemistry was new. The pieces still needed to fit. And he wasn't about to let one hot-handed performance steal his spotlight for long. Meanwhile, Butler's post-game quotes told the other side of the story. Every game's a chance, he said. Doesn't matter if it's preseason, every chance counts. The confidence was real, not cocky. The kind that makes teammates listen a little closer in practice. The kind that turns "who's that guy" into "we need that guy." And that's what made this night so intriguing. It wasn't about wins and losses. It was about stories colliding. A superstar reminding everyone he's still him. A rookie rising out of nowhere. A role player stepping into the spotlight. And a few veterans quietly realizing that this season might not play out the way anyone expected. In the end, the scoreboard read 102-100. But what everyone walked away with was something far more valuable than numbers, a glimpse of what's coming next. What was supposed to be a simple preseason game turned into a statement night. Luka Dončić reminded everyone why he's a superstar, 25 effortless points in just 22 minutes. but the real shock came from the other side. Jared Butler dropped 33 and took over the fourth quarter like he'd been waiting for this moment his whole life. And Keman Maluwak, the unknown rookie, turned heads with fearless defense and highlight dunks that no one saw coming. Luka sent a reminder. Butler made a name. Maluwak introduced himself to the world. Preseason games don't usually matter, but this one did. It wasn't just a game, it was a warning. So, what do you think, fluke or foreshadowing? Eyes. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because this season is just getting started.